Hi, I'm Greg Fitzgerald with the Tryout Commercial Group. We connect buyers and sellers in a powerful yet simple win-win dynamic utilizing our process, the Closing Navigator. What I'd like to share with you today is an interesting trend in commercial real estate transactions that we've seen over the past 12 to 15 months. I'd call it the all-cash quick close. Again, over the past 12 to 15 months, we've seen 25% of our transactions close in 17 days or less, sometimes in as few as 3. That's from contract execution to close in 17 days or less on 25% of our transactions. We think that there's two driving forces to this new trend. Number one is the more obvious, it's the credit crisis. There's still a lack of financing, and the availability of funds to leverage up still remains low, but also there still remains a lack of good return across all asset classes. And secondly, the more subtle driving factor is the information age and the advancement of technology. We're seeing all parties to the real estate transactions have more connectivity, and we're also seeing the dissemination and delivery of information in a much more efficient and quick way. So those are really what are driving the two driving forces. What I'd also like to share with you is what we believe, if you do want to close a transaction in 17 days or less, I'd like to share with you what we believe are the 3 key success factors. And they have to do with the players to the transaction. Number 1, you need a motivated buyer and seller. Number 2, you need attorneys that have a process for transacting, a transactional attorney with a process. And number 3, the real estate brokers do play a role, and they need to have a process as well for transacting. Let's get back to number 1. You need a motivated buyer and seller. You need a motivated buyer, one with cash, that's clear about their long and short-term acquisition goals and strategies. You also need a seller that's motivated, that's one that's decisive and also clear about their long and short-term disposition strategy and goals. 2 is the attorney, and that's the attorney either the buyer and seller hire. Sometimes you'll have the seller with an attorney or a buyer with an attorney, but you need the attorneys to the transaction need to have a process for disseminating information and reviewing and underwriting information in a very efficient and quick way. They also need to be very organized and responsive. Number 3 are the brokers. The real estate brokers need to qualify the buyer, the seller, and the property well ahead of the transaction ever fusing and starting to come together. They need to be in tune with what the long and short-term goals of their client are, and then as the transaction starts to fuse and come together, they need to be aware of what the long and short-term goals of all the parties to the transaction. And as you move towards close and move through the transaction, the brokers need to maintain a high level of collaborative, open communication. Those are the 3 key success factors in closing a transaction in 17 days or less. If you'd like to have more information about our completed transactions, the Closing Navigator and Tryout Commercial Group, please feel free to contact us. Thank you for your time.